welcome back to Warren and Will's Wild Wine Reviews. I'm Warren of the 2100 reviews on Vivino. At least close to 2100 if I'm not
Have you passed 2100?
I'm not sure.
Well, we better check. We better, because that's a milestone.
Okay, folks, let's check real quick. I don't
We're gonna check it live.
We're gonna check it live. Here's my Vivino.
I like it.
My rank has been actually getting improved lately because I've been reviewing a bunch of wines, but
not just these, but other ones as well.
No, not just these. Lots of other ones. Lots of other ones. Going to my profile. No, I'm actually quite a ways away. I'm 2041.
No, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Hey, we might hit 2100 right here. Ish.
No, we'll hit 2040.
Wait, we never. No, not right tonight. Like in this gazebo.
Oh, in this gazebo, yeah, absolutely. That will absolutely happen.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is Will?
Certified sommelier, something close. I have to, at some point I'm going to actually have to go through my CV and figure out exactly how many years I have in the wine industry so I can stop saying close to a decade if it's nowhere close to that. But somewhere like a decade's worth of experience in the wine world.
Well, you were certified when I met you, and
correct.
That was like 7 or 8 years ago.
That was 9 years ago.
It has to be at least
March of 2013, yeah. So...
All right, so tonight's wine is Chateau Cheval Noir?
Cheval Noir, yeah.
Cheval
Black
Noir.
horse.
Now, let me tell you about this one because it's a little different than all the other ones we've done. So this is done by the same people who did the Chateau Picard. So when we do a video and it goes live, we send out a whole, we do a whole push on all the social media, but we also send emails to the wine producer to let them know that we have reviewed their wine and let them check it out. Well, they enjoyed the review, immediately contacted us and said, would you like to do this wine? So they sent us a bottle of
Cheval Noir. We are not sponsored by them in any way. This is going to be
They're not paying for us. They didn't ask us to say anything.
They sent this to us for free. And
but they knew we liked the Chateau Picard, so they gave us the next bottle up thinking we'd like this. And that makes perfect sense. And we'll find out in a minute because this has been decanting now. Let me see what time it is. And almost about, I want to say an hour and a half.
Okay. Good amount of time.
We've had a good amount of time. So this should be open up. It should have opened up quite nicely. So let me turn this here. We will pour a little bit of wine, and Will and I will give you our initial...
I'm mildly ridiculously excited about this one. I'm not going to lie. I was reading the back of the bottle, and this is just one of those Bordeaux's you love digging your teeth into the little nitty-gritty details about.
Yes. Oh, I'm getting wine all over the table.
That's okay.
Have to fix that. Now, everything that I own... all the wood that I own is
varnished with wine.
Varnished. No, it's varnished so that wine won't stain it. It's varnished the color of wine because I've spilled too much wine over my life to think I shouldn't do that.
Instead of hydrophilic, it's vinophilic.
Yes.
So what's really interesting to me about this right off the bat is this has been decanting for an hour and a half, and its aroma is still kind of closed off.
It's still kind of tight.
Not
in
a bad way. Not in a bad way. I mean, let's look at the year.
I can smell the oak.
Oh, it's 2016. Okay, so this got 6 years on it.
It's got 6 years on it.
But I mean, with some of these Bordeaux's, I mean, if this is their next step up, this might not have been designed to be drunk for another 4 years. So
It probably wasn't.
I'm gonna swirl mine around real good.
It's a fairly light mouthfeel for what we're having.
So I'm getting a lot of dried black fruit. If we're talking about any kind of fruit on the palate,
there's blackberry. On the aroma,
blackberry. There's prune. Definitely, but all black fruit. There's no. I don't get any red fruit at all to speak of on their aroma. Oh wow, very flavorful. I would not have guessed it would be this flavorful from the aroma. So the aroma, as reserved as it might be,
and the nose is definitely reserved.
Mm-hmm. But a lot of blackberry, like damson.
This is a good wine.
Very good.
This is a good wine. I'm glad. Thank you for sending it, guys.
Yes, absolutely. And people
should buy the hell out of this.
This is archetypal Bordeaux. I don't know enough about Bordeaux to say that it's archetypal Saint-Emilion, but if you're an American who likes Bordeaux and you're looking for one that really nails...
Do they mention the breakdown here?
I don't... Let's see. Old Merlot vines. So they don't say it's 100%, but I'm going to guess that it's because it's Saint-Emilion.
It definitely have the softness of a Merlot.
I'm going to guess that it's either 100% Merlot or predominantly Merlot, because the left bank
I didn't see anything
of the
about
river
the breakdown online.
heavily identifies with their
right.
Cabernet Sauvignon identity, and the right bank heavily identifies with their Merlot identity. So, in their opinion, probably whatever isn't Merlot isn't worth talking about because that's not what you're here for.
And we're Americans, so we hate Merlot, which is, I'm just kidding. Because
well, the Warren was onto something though, because we're Americans. We want to know the varietal breakdown. We want to know,
and they
was
don't
that
care.
4% Petit Verdot?
Most of the world doesn't care. They just, how does it taste?
Honestly, though, I mean,
but for me, knowing the breakdown tells me what I'm looking for.
Well, and not only that, it's like, oh, is that little bit of finesse coming from that 4% Petit Verdot? Maybe so. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to tell sometimes.
All right, so let me give you, my little breakdown that I give every time.
Yes.
This at Vivino, this gets 4.2 out of 5 stars. Now, there's only 49 ratings.
There should be more.
Do me a favor, go to our website, click through on the Vivino, buy a few bottles, and let's review the hell out of this.
Yeah, for sure.
So we can get the reviews up.
They deserve it.
The average price is $58 if you buy it on Vivino.
That's not bad at all.
So, here's the thing that's going to make people not want to go buy. You're not going to want to do what I just suggested, and here's why. Because the prices I was seeing online elsewhere were $20 to $30 range. You can order it from wine.com and Yanni's and a number of other places for $30 or less.
Yep.
And for $30, this is a kick-ass bottle of wine.
I would not have been surprised to hear this was a $60 bottle, though.
Oh, not really. I mean, that is the average price is $58.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that means of the 49 people, the average that people put in the price, the average was 49. I'm not putting in a price because that would be silliness. They gave us the bottle for free.
Right.
Now, these guys also do Chateau Picard, Chateau Palmer, and Chateau Margaux.
They are
distributors. Those last two are super. No, they own those.
Oh, they own them.
Distribute. They also do some distributing. In addition to being vintners, they're wholesalers.
Yeah.
And they represent a number of wines from a number of countries. Included on their website is Opus 1 and Quintessa. Those are a couple of really expensive American wines.
Now, they don't own those, they just distribute them.
They distribute them.
Right,
and those are Bordeaux blends from America, or I think Quintessa has both a Bordeaux blend and a Cab.
Yeah.
And, and they have a wine in Jamelia and one in Saint Emilion?
Saint Emilion, yeah. I think that's this one.
This was founded in 1892 by Frederick Mahler and his wife, Mähler-Besse. In 1938, they purchased part of Chateau Palmer, Margaux, and Chateau Cheval Noir, this one. And in 1977, they purchased Chateau Picard.
Yep.
So, I mean, these guys, when it comes to French wine, are really quite good at what they do, and they know what they're doing. So
it's important to note here, and if you're familiar with Bordeaux, then this might be boring, or you might already know this. Bordeaux is a very, very parceled up territory.
And
so
it's not Pinot Noir, damn it.
If you look at Bordeaux, and if you're able to find a map where you're able to see like individual chateaus, it is just dotted with hundreds, and all those chateaus are individual castles or fortified areas because they date back to, however long they've been, building fortifications in that area.
When you couldn't trust people.
Exactly.
Oh, wait.
We still can't. But actually, the walled city in Europe didn't exist until, I don't know when it was, sometime in the 800s, the Dark Ages. So, yeah.
I've stayed in a bunch of walled cities in Malta.
You had towers, but you didn't have have fortifications.
In Ireland, I visited so many towers. It was really cool, but that's all they had. Yeah, you didn't come in at night.
Right.
And sleep inside the fortified.
No, you had a tower, and then you just had farmland around, and if there was a war, then things just happened as they did. The walled city was a relatively recent invention.
And it went away as soon as cannons came along.
Yep. But so this is a separate chateau. This is not Chateau Picard. This is not a second bottling that they do. This is a separate chateau named Cheval Noir, which is named after a black horse, especially powerful and elegant. They make the point to note that he was powerful and elegant, who worked the vineyards in the 19th century, I guess not long after the chateau was founded.
Everybody must have loved that horse.
Yeah,
it must have been a very affable horse.
It's also worth noting,
if it bit and kicked, it wouldn't get any wines.
They don't say this on the back of the label, but Cuvée La Fer means iron growth, or growth of iron. So I assume that this horse was really, really, really freaking strong. Probably lived to a ripe old age, and probably was beloved by everybody on the vineyard property. Yeah. And so maybe not even after he died, maybe during his lifetime, they just started putting his likeness on the label and naming stuff after him.
Yeah, I like that.
Me too. And it's kind of fitting because you're gonna hate this, but working at Chateau Morissette, we had a black dog. We had a black dog
they
wine.
named all their wines after dogs.
After dogs, but the original wine they named after a dog was named after a black Labrador Retriever named Hans, who was always trotting around the winery. So these
I'm enjoying
things.
this one. There's some very chalky tannins, which doesn't. Some people don't like chalky tannins. I have no problems with it.
No, me either.
It's just
this speaks to how young this wine is. Now, Warren and I have done wines before.
I meant to bring out the I did not bring the cork that's up in the
that's okay.
in my house, but it is really, really dark.
Oh yeah,
and lots of tartaric acid.
This is a 2016, and there are 2016s that we have done where like, oh, this is drinking really well now, or like we could have given it a few more years.
This one's got another 20 years in the bottle.
Easy, yeah. I mean,
it's drinkable now for sure. You'd enjoy this greatly with a nice.
If you decant it for an hour and a
steak.
half.
Yeah, I mean, we did decant it for an hour and a half. I got to give it that. I'm not sure I'd pour this one straight out of the bottle, but that's why we have decanters. And if you don't have a decanter, a glass pitcher that you use to make Kool-Aid with will work.
Absolutely.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid, drink the wine.
Or, I mean, and there are different ways around this. If you the nice thing about this narrow decanter is that the wine will aerate. Less of the wine is exposed to oxygen. So you'll notice some decanters will have a very narrow neck, and then they
very wide at the bottom. And
I have very wide at the bottom.
Of those. I got to go get them out.
But the thing is that if you don't want the wine to the nice thing is you can put that in there for an hour and a half. And it's not going to be completely done by the time that we start drinking it.
It's true.
If you would put that in one of those big shallow bottoms decanters, I'm not sure.
I don't know. It would be what would be nice is I got to go
side by side.
Right. So we could do half the bottle into this and half the bottle into the other one, and it might be an interesting thing to talk to you guys about.
But the surface area there is all that's getting exposed to oxygen. Now that being said, the oxygen is percolating down into, but if the surface area is that as opposed to something the size of a pie plate,
you get a lot more.
Absolutely.
More oxygenation from that, and to some extent, I would like to try this one in an hour, but we're going to take our time. We're going to take 30 minutes.
We're going to do our best to take our time.
And if we don't see, it looks like people prefer shorter ones, and if they don't,
this is a harder one to take our time on.
Right,
but we're going to do our best.
It's going to be hard to take our time on because it's really worth taking the time to see how it develops. So and a lot of wines aren't, but. Yeah, that's not true. A lot of wines aren't, but we're not going to review most of those wines.
Well, and if we do go a little long or you see us taking our time, just bear in mind that's part of the review. We are saying that there are some wines where by the end of 30 minutes we're pretty much close to done.
This reminded me of a Washington wine.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is that Bordeaux...
It's really soft and nice.
I'd have to look up the actual temperature profile. But in general, like Bordeaux and Washington are going to have a lot more similar climates than Napa and Bordeaux because Washington's a cooler climate. Bordeaux's a cooler climate. It's got that oceanic maritime influence. It's not like
reminds me
Rhone.
of some of my favorite Washington wines.
I can definitely see that.
As far as the mouthfeel goes. I mean, as far as what the grapes are doing, the expression of the grapes, no.
Right.
But I'm just pointing out that I really
the
like the mouthfeel.
The structure,
and I'm having no issues with the grapes because what they're doing here is quite good. I just don't want you to think that if you go buy this, you're going to get something that tastes like a Walla Walla cab because
this is rougher. This is rougher than a Walla Walla cab, and the reason for that is simple. This is only 6 years old. This needs more time in the bottle. These Bordeaux's, the really well-made, well-crafted ones. There are plenty of Bordeaux's. You go out to Wegmans, you go out to Trader Joe's.
And they're designed for you to drink last.
They are. I'm not knocking them. But when my dad, but when my dad ages them for 5 or 6 years,
right. That's what.
That's about the maximum you want to give them. You don't want to take them much further than that.
This one you do 10 or 20 in the bottle, it'll be fine.
Oh, easy, longer maybe. Who knows at this point?
Yeah. I mean, I don't have that.
With modern vinification techniques and all that kind of stuff.
For sure.
It's all.
Well, look at that. They've even got a nice little.
QR code.
QR code on it. I mean, these guys
with a black horse right in the center of it.
They're not like the German John Joe Spurs, whose whole website has all the warnings they have to give you by law in France. Not France, in Germany.
Yeah.
And their phone number and an email address. These guys, their website's quite sophisticated.
Here's
they know what they're doing.
The Bordelais, thanks to Robert Parker, know that they have an American market. The Germans know that they sell in America, but they don't have quite the same guarantee that Bordeaux does. I mean,
no, it's true.
I mean, if you were into Pinot and we were doing Burgundies here, we would notice the difference between the Burgundies and the Bordeaux in terms of how they present their information to the American market. in Burgundy, it's much harder to find information. They're a lot more like Germany in terms of how they present their information.
Yep.
The Bordelais are a lot more American friendly because a lot of their stuff is coming to America.
Yep.
That's part of the reason we got such a response from the Mähler-Besse folks. I also wanted to point out
and also from Molly Duker,
yep.
but not from Germany, and
not as much from Italy. Yeah.
Yeah, and no, we got a response from
we did.
From Quadretti. They in fact invited me to, if I'm ever in Italy.
Of course they did.
They're
going to give you a 5-course dinner.
Right. That's what they do.
And that'll just be the start of the festivities.
And so Malta, I've been invited to 2 of the vineyards in Malta, and the vineyard for Quintessa.
Yeah, Quadretti.
Quadretti, yes.
You've got Quintessa on the mind because these people handle Quintessa.
But Quadretti's one of my favorites.
Oh yes,
on the planet.
we love Quadretti.
I love their.
We have been drinking Quadretti for
a decade.
Yeah, close to that. Yeah,
6 or 7, 8 years for sure.
What I really like about this is
these guys are quickly becoming one of my favorite winters.
So it's worth noting they say that this cuvee in specific comes from a 2-hectare property, which is only 5 acres.
Yeah, 5 acres.
It's
and
tiny.
I'm a huge fan of cuvee.
Mm-hmm. They made out of that little property, they made 15,896 bottles.
That's a pretty good
278 magnums and 12 double magnums.
Damn.
So just in terms of the individual bottles, that's a little over 1,000. Let's see, 12 into 15,000.
It's just over 1,000.
Yeah, just over 1,000 cases. So what we're talking about here in American terms, that's boutique winery operation. Now that's not all that they're making. That's just this particular.
They own 5 vineyards.
So if you
they distribute wines and whiskeys.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So dudes, if you want to send us some whiskey, we would do a special because we both.
We adore
fans.
whiskey.
I
don't know how we can fit that into the context of this, but I'm sure we could springboard it somehow.
Well, we could do it with the travel because our sister blogs are my wife's travel blogs.
And
so
I also
we do both wine and travel.
We still have the alliteration going because Warren and Will's Wild Wine Reviews, Warren and Will's Wild Whiskey Reviews. Still W's.
We can do some of those.
But that is incredibly boutique-y by American standards because Americans, we have lots and lots and lots of land.
I do wine, and I got 55 acres.
Right. If you go back to a certain time period,
I got grapes, man.
Yeah.
I
had one of them when I was up there.
Yeah. I was doing, and I mentioned this in our last video because we did 2 today.
Yeah.
Is that the UPS driver asked me to trim back some of the trees and stuff because we have trees on both sides of my quarter-of-a-mile driveway.
It's Virginia.
And they were banging
everything is constantly growing.
They were banging his mirrors, and he was afraid they'd crack, and they'd get penalized for that. Very nice of UPS and FedEx to penalize their drivers for something they have absolutely no control over. But I went out and I did that, and what I discovered was a vine had grown through a number of my trees by the water. And so I took a moment, or an hour, and picked about 3 gallons of them. And if I were to go get my ladder, I could get another maybe 5 to 10 gallons.
Oh yeah,
there. And that's just one little spot. I can get them all through my property, but I like the idea of getting them all from one place.
Yeah.
But so, boy, do we have grapes. I think that was my point. But
you read stories about when the first English settlers got here in 1607, and they were traveling up and down waterways. And what they were struck by was the vines were just overhanging the rivers, and you're paddling up like the York River or whatever.
Boom, and you got 3,
Yeah, and so their first thought was that one of the things that they were hoping was when John Smith and the others saw these grapevines was that all of a sudden we don't have to worry about going to war with France anymore because we can just make wine out of the grapes.
But it was all Scuppernong.
They didn't realize what it would taste like.
There was no chance you're making good wine out of that.
They tried.
Because I brought it in and my wife's like, wow. And I'm like, so what are you going to do with it? And she was like, she bought 10 pounds of sugar today and she's going to try to make some juice and she's going to make preserves.
Yep.
And if we're happy with it, I'll go with my little ladder and pick the rest of it out of those trees. And if we want more, I can go anywhere on my 55 acre property and find it. I've got grapes everywhere, and I've never even tried to grow them.
It's kind of like a biological law of supply and demand.
They're all grapes I would never want to drink as a
right.
wine.
If there's something you don't want, there's plenty of it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I don't mind, especially if we get just a little sweeter.
Yeah.
But,
Well, and I think a lot of that has to do with not so much the species of the grape, but the elevation.
And the problem, we have so many birds.
Yep.
Like, I have a ton of black raspberries growing about my property, and I adore black raspberries. But birds don't really care if they're fully ripe.
Yep.
So they start eating them about a week before you're willing to. Same with the grapes.
Yep. I guess, it makes me wonder, I know that other animals like sweet things, but it makes me wonder if we're the animal that has the most preference for sweetness, just because we've evolved.
No idea, but I know that the birds don't care.
Right.
And it's funny because I once, we feed birds. I'm a birder.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I keep a list of birds. We have like over 118 different kinds of birds. Because one, we've got fields, so we get field birds. We've got forests, so we get forest birds. We have ponds, so we get water birds. And then because of the transitional places, there are transitional birds in each of
migratory.
Those. Well, there's migratory birds, fall birds, but there's also birds that like to live on the edge of the
that's
forest.
True, on the liminal spaces.
Live on the edge of not forests, but on the edge of fields. And I've got all of that.
Or fields and water,
so
or forests and water.
Very few birds that won't show up on my property at some point. There's like no kind of bird I can think of that you'll never see here. Well, you don't
have you guys seen a prothonotary warbler here yet?
No.
Because the thing is,
the warblers hang out underneath
in the deep woods, but the thing is, you've got the water in the woods, and so if there's anybody in Floyd that could get a prothonotary warbler in his ward, I'm pretty sure it's you.
Oh, probably so, but there was a whole point to this that I've now lost.
Well, let's see. We were talking about acreages. Birds will eat sweet things before humans will.
Before humans will. So they don't care if they're sweet. They just care if they're ready to be eaten.
Yep, that is very true.
Calories they need to get through the day.
So those grapes that are growing down there could be the result of overeager birds harvesting grapes that might otherwise be really, really sweet by now, and what we're left with are the leftovers from their overharvesting.
Up on my mailbox, I discovered that I have a nut tree. Oh, damn it! What kind of nut is it? They make the chocolate.
Almonds?
No.
No. I'm sorry. Pecans.
Nope. They're little. You crack them at Thanksgiving time. This is terrible.
Hazelnuts. Yeah.
You know what? I'm never going to get one because the squirrels will eat it 2 weeks before they're ripe.
Yeah.
From our point of view.
Yeah.
So I'd have to pick them early and then sit on them and hope they ripen correctly.
Right.
Because I almost chopped down the tree because it was in the way, and then I realized what it was.
That is.
Thankfully, before I chopped it down, someone's like, "Well, you have to make sure you have male and females, because if you have just male or just female, you get the expression of it, but when you open up, there's no nut." Well, this one's got the nut, so I've got male and female.
Okay, excellent.
But I'm never going to get one because the squirrels come and take them all long before I'm ready to.
So one of the things that's been interesting to me about our conversations about Virginia wine is that Virginia is not a bad place to grow wine in terms of its climate if you're careful about site selection. Mm-hmm. What sucks about Virginia is our critters. We have massive amounts of critters who will just feast on grapes, eat them, bust open thing. It makes growing vineyards a nightmare.
You can usually see the water behind us. I've got this. It's 1/3 of an acre. My pond is. Anything larger, and I would have had to get permission from the
county.
Well, not the county, from the water board, the state.
Really?
Yeah. And the problem with that is if they say no, you cannot do even a small pond.
Oh, wow.
Now, if you keep your pond 1/3 an acre or smaller, you don't need permission.
Interesting, okay.
But if you ask for a half-acre pond or a full acre, which is what I wanted to do, if they say no, you can't do anything. The smaller pond.
Wow.
So I was just like, I'm not taking that risk, because I've known people who made the pond and then asked and had to close. They had to fill it in.
Wow.
I mean, to hell with everything that's living in it now.
Right.
It's important to
conserve species. Let's bury them under dirt.
Bog turtles.
Yeah.
So we just made it the largest size that we could, so it was just underneath that and didn't have to ask for it. But it brings in all kinds of interesting animals.
Oh,
I mean, we get deer, we get bear, foxes, herons, great herons, green herons.
Yep.
kingfishers.
Didn't you have some seagulls one time?
We've had seagulls. We've had plovers.
Yep.
We've had sandpipers.
Yep.
Because it turns out most of those goes up and down the streams. You never see them. But I have a beach on either side of this gazebo. We put in a beach with sand, and there's a wall built around it to prevent the sand from eroding into the water. But what happens is a lot of the ocean goers see that sand and immediately
land
hit
here.
it.
Yep.
Because they're like looking for things that might be in that sand. None of those things are in the sand.
Nope.
There are no clams in my sand. There are no oysters in my sand. There are no mussels in my sand.
None of those little crabs.
None of the crabs. But they immediately check it out. So we see
Sand
a lot
fleas.
of water birds that most people don't see. Because if you have a pond, they come to the edge of where the water comes out of your pond, and that's where they stop. They don't go any further. But the minute they see a beach, like, boom. So we see lots of water birds you would never, ever see in this area. Now, they're all here, but they all hide in the...
Well, but there's also... The killdeer is kind of like a freshwater sandpiper. So I'm sure that they're not passing through. I'm sure
We've
they
had
nest...
whippoorwills here.
Oh, wow.
And
that's amazing.
We have a couple of dueling... screech owls, which is something at night. It sounds like a banshee, you're like listening to the damned scream at each other. And these tiny little cute guys.
I sometimes wonder how many scary stories come out of birds can make an awful ruckus, specifically owls and other prey birds. And I sometimes wondered, if like you're out alone in the woods and you're already kind of in a frame of mind where you're like, oh God, is something going to get me?
I'm really liking the way this is opening up. Sorry to interrupt.
Don't be sorry at all. And you hear like a screech owl go off and you're like, oh gosh, it's coming after me.
Yeah.
No, this is opening up beautifully. So I am picking up a lot more of the dried fruit character that I was talking about on the nose earlier.
The wax is still there.
Yeah, there's some
it's
wax.
Paraffin. It's paraffin.
Yeah, there's some
which
waxiness.
is usually an expression of oak.
I'm picking up a little bit of blueberry. Maybe there's like a little bit of sweeter fruit emerging from the aroma.
I can see the blue fruit. I can see that. Yeah.
But and this is one of those wines that, as beautiful as it is on its own, if you had this alongside
with
a steak,
a good steak, with a nice peppery steak, this would be perfect.
Rack of lamb, any
pepperoni pizza.
Yep.
Yeah. This will stand up to anything you can throw.
Anything protein laden that you can toss at this. Now
I had shrimp ceviche tonight. This would have gone swimmingly with it. Since I'm not one of the 25% that tastes blood when I have red wines with spicy.
I would actually really love to see if serving shrimp in that kind of a citric acid laden environment had an effect on the penny thing. Yeah.
I mean that is a genetic thing. I don't have.
But the ceviche is a completely different way to serve it.
Right. Because what you're doing, you're putting in raw shrimp. And the
citric
juices
acid
from the citric that you put in and cook it for you.
Yep.
So it's like it's cooked. It tastes like it's
cooked.
Well,
here's the thing about cooking is that when you're cooking, you're using heat to kill bacteria. When you do ceviche, you're using citric acid to kill bacteria. So people are like, oh, it's like it's raw. I'm like, well, what is cooking really doing? It's denaturing bacteria. It's killing bacteria.
And it doesn't taste raw.
Right. No, it doesn't.
The shrimp itself, and I've also. The first time I had ceviche was on a trip to Belize.
Yeah.
They had lionfish. If you can get your hands on lionfish, it's a beautiful white flaky fish. It's wonderful in ceviche. I've had it in another restaurant, deep fried.
Not as good?
Oh, no, it was awesome.
Oh, okay.
And you can still also treat it like it's tilapia.
Okay.
Or any...
So it's very versatile.
Oh, it's very versatile, and it's really, really good. And the great thing about it is that lionfish are invasive. And there are problems everywhere.
Great.
The best thing to do with anything that's invasive,
if
it's edible, is to eat it.
Yep.
And not only is it edible, it's delicious.
That's awesome. That's good to know.
I don't know how it would go with this, but I think it would go, at least for those of us who don't have an issue with seafood turning wine into copper.
Well, the nice thing about fish is that that's not going to happen. It's only a problem with shellfish for the people that have that thing.
Gene, yeah.
So if you've ever heard the old maxim of white wine with fish and chicken and red wine with red meat, yes and no. I'm not disagreeing with the underlying principle. The nice thing about red wine is that if you prepare something the right way, you can serve it with red wine.
Yep.
And if you want to serve fish and serve it with red wine, A great way to do that is just put it in something tomato-based.
Right. As soon as you turn it into an Italian dish, you can drink red wine
the
with it all
Naples
day long.
Neapolitan cuisine with red wine. You would be amazed at the amount of stuff that they have down there with clams.
Do they make any whites in Italy? I can't.
Oh yeah, they do.
Do they? Okay, I've never run into one.
Pinot Grigio.
Well, that's why I don't drink Pinot.
No,
Grigio
they don't make any white. They don't make any whites that you would like because by and large they're very light. Mm-hmm. They're very dry and they are not made for aging.
By the way, this one's about medium mouthfeel. Because we normally discuss that and we haven't here. It's medium.
But oh, what a medium!
Oh yeah, it's very nice. Very silky, very smooth, fills the whole mouth, but not in a heavy way like a Napa Cab or
there's
State
body and there's complexity.
Yeah, this is both.
Yeah, exactly. So if you had a
body.
medium-bodied wine with with very little complexity, you wouldn't necessarily think of it as medium-bodied.
You might even think of it as light because
exactly. But
there's plenty of complexity here.
A medium-bodied wine with high complexity almost seems to feel like a heavy wine.
They've done a wonderful job with their 5 acres.
They have done a very wonderful job, and I think part of the reason they've done a wonderful job is when you have 5 acres and you're just working with that little tiny bit.
And again, all we got from these folks is they sent us 2 bottles of this. If we bought it at Vivino, it would be $100. We buy it elsewhere, it'd be about $40.
Yeah.
I'm not selling my soul for $40 or $100. I buy $200, $300, $400 bottles of wine regularly.
Yeah.
So I'm not like hoping people will send me free wine if we go off on their free wines. This is a good wine. If I paid for it, we'd be saying the same thing.
And also, the thing is...
Maybe more, because I'm kind of feeling like I don't want to be a homer here. But this is a good wine.
But the thing is, they also watch your video.
Right, they knew what to send us.
They knew what to send us.
They sent us the appropriate wine for our palate.
They knew that we weren't going to tank them.
Right, well, I mean, we'd be assholes if we went at this wine, because it's pretty good, and then we'd lose credibility.
Absolutely.
Because anyone who drank it would go, what are those guys talking about?
Well, and also, with 2 Americans reviewing wine, if you're a European or especially a French person, you know relatively quickly whether or not
any attention to
right, exactly.
We both drank a lot of
when we said this is a very old world style Bordeaux, and they were like, okay, these guys are clearly whatever else their taste might be, and however wrong they might be on other things.
Yes,
that's an accurate description of this wine because the Chateau Picard fit very neatly into that nice middle of the road Bordeaux. It's not going to alienate anybody. And if you're looking for something over the top, you're probably not going to be buying the Chateau Picard anyway. The only reason you might be buying it is because of the Star Trek association.
And that was actually the reason that I bought it, was to get that.
Of course.
I was curious.
It's cool that it existed.
I had the one made by the people in California, and I wasn't all that impressed.
Right.
So I got the Chateau Picard, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty good. These guys should have just bought 1,000 bottles of it and sold it instead of making their own.
What was also really funny about that is that, within the context of Star Trek, Jean-Luc Picard is very much a traditionalist, an old school kind of guy, and that Chateau Picard was a very old school type of Bordeaux. The
big reason they didn't do it is they had their own label.
Right.
Now, why they wouldn't just ask the Chateau Picard people to put this label on the 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 bottles we're going to buy
also, why does
for
it matter?
ours, I don't know. Well, because people saw it on Star Trek and they want them to see what they got on Star Trek Picard.
Okay.
They want the bottle that Jean-Luc Picard opened and poured.
But that's 500 years in the future. Who knows what the label looks like?
The label won't look the same.
2022.
But that's what they wanted. They wanted their own label on it. That was the label he had.
I get it. It's also silly because I think that the average Star Trek fan is intelligent enough to be like, this is cool.
As far as I can tell, the average Star Trek, they're not aiming at people who know wine. They're not. Whereas these guys are.
Right.
They're assuming you like wine and you have a decent palate. And, you're not going to buy a second bottle of this if you don't.
Right.
Because you can buy cheap-ass wines if you have a bad palate.
Right.
Whereas, this is not an expensive wine. But
it's not.
And that's the thing. One of the things I'll say about French wines is at a certain, at the $50 to $100 level in America, when you're paying for that, you can get that for $20 to $50 in Europe, most of Europe. So, so when you buy these wines, they're actually probably going to be, until you get to the really good ones, much less expensive than buying the same quality in America.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Americans know the price. They part of that is they know what they can get other Americans to pay. Well, the French are selling an awful lot of wine in Europe, and the Europeans are like, well, why would I pay you that much when I can do this and that? And there's so many good $30 bottles of wine there. We don't have as many good $30 bottles of wine in America. This is a wonderful 30,
and it's kind of a shame.
20 to 50, depending on who you buy it from.
And a lot of American wineries, and I don't say wineries, it's not the wineries. A lot of the times it's a distributor making the decision or pushing it anyway. And it's bigger ones. There are plenty of small distributors here in Virginia that don't do anything like this.
I just got the Ludens, by the way. The
last
you did? Sip had some Ludens, which is just a really nice cherry taste.
Okay, I see that a little bit. Overall, though, my predominant experience with this has been black fruit. Black cherry, blackberry, blueberry.
Is starting to come in now that we're...
Tiny bit.
Let's see, we're 2 hours, a little more than 2 hours from when
So if nothing else, this has been basically an advertisement for buy this wine, but also hold on to it. Like buy.
Yeah, I would hold on to this.
Yeah, if you're.
I have another. They sent us 2 bottles. The other bottle's going to wait 5 to 10 years before I open it. Unless I have to run away. Although things are looking better in America,
they are.
I not have to.
Yeah.
To Europe. Malta is a place that I qualify for a visa. I'm seriously thinking about moving to Malta. But I'm trying to avoid it.
I hope that he doesn't, so I hope that the situation gets better in America. Yeah. Oh, and I'm not opposed to flying out there for us to do
we'll do 10 of them at a time.
Right, exactly.
I'll bring you out. Although, we're now starting to see, we're putting into place the things that will make us money. We thought we were going to do this right out of the gate, do all the things with money, but then everything we were looking at, everything we're seeing says prove it. Prove you're going to be here. So we're now 2 months in. By the time you see this, we'll have done almost what we've got. Our 8th one went live last week.
Yes.
And now we've done another, almost 10 wines since we did that one.
Right.
So, we got 3 months worth of reviews. We're doing lots of other online content. So now we feel we're in the place where we've proved we're going to do content. We'll keep doing it. So, I spent a good part of today with my wife working on the Patreon. And we haven't finished up the Patreon, but the Patreon, by the time you see this, it will definitely be a Patreon, because it'll probably be finished tomorrow.
If only the people saying prove it had known how long we had been doing this already.
Right.
Just
but
you would be sitting here. No, I know.
Because if somebody comes and they're trying to decide which wine place am I going to spend money on my Patreon, I'm only going to do one. Well, they'll look at us and say, oh, there's no content here. And they'll go to look at somebody who's been doing it for 2 or 3 years, and they'll jump on them. Well, now, if you go to our website, please do. It is wineandtravellife.com. You'll find a ton of content. Now, I'm saying this, and this one won't hit for at least a month, maybe 6 weeks from when we do it. You will really be surprised by how good and how much content. Now, several of us are professional writers who can sell anything we write to anybody. And
some of us are Will.
Well, Will's a pretty good writer, actually. I've gone through and edited the stuff you've sent to me.
What does it mean I'm not a professional writer?
But you know what? You're wrong. There's so little. Okay. I do so little editing of the content you submit.
I don't write as a profession. I'm a professional level writer.
Yes. I would say that everything that I edited from you was your first 3 blogs you actually did somewhere else, and I had to take the references to the past out.
Yep.
Because it made no sense in where we were. But, the grapes hadn't changed, so there wasn't much that needed to be changed. So, we have a much higher level of professionalism when it comes to layout, design, and writing than you're going to see elsewhere.
It's the nice thing about having this being run by a publisher.
Right. The video thing we're still working on. So at any rate, we're not going to finish this wine while we're on screen, because I think we're about done. Our half hour is long ago gone.
Right.
But I thought this wine was worth continuing to talk and going.
And it's also nice to have a second wine from, it's not the same producer, it's the same distributor, but it's within their larger penumbra. They're owned by the same people.
Company, yes.
So you have to assume the same creative mind that was behind Chateau Picard is behind Chateau Cheval Noir.
I mean, one of the things they do is they buy these places and they modernize.
Yep. Which is a great thing to do. We are 100% in favor of that.
We're totally in favor of that. Because the modernization in wine, unlike many other industries, is good for the product.
It's good for everybody. It's good for the products.
Right.
It's good for the consumer.
There's so many other
buy more of
things
it.
that they modernize, and it's not half as good as it used to be.
Correct.
Oh, let's put corn syrup into this thing. No,
that's not happening here.
Right.
It's still just grapes. Grapes and yeast.
Yep. These guys did a good job. We're very happy with this wine.
Yeah.
Thank you for sending it to us.
And we're not just saying that because you sent it to us.
No, because it's a $20 to $50 bottle of wine.
Yeah.
I could buy those all day. It's not making my life different. So
we had someone curate our taste for us.
Yeah, I mean, well, they saw our review. They may have looked at some of our other reviews. I don't know, but they figured this was the wine to send us, and they were right.
They were right. They were absolutely right. So
trust these guys.
Yeah, Mähler-Besse, thank you.
I've had 2 of their wines now, and they're both quite good.
Yep.
They're both quite good. This one's a little more in my wheelhouse than the Chateau Picard.
Correct.
Which is interesting for me.
It's a little less old world.
I don't know if it's still old world.
Not as old world as
it's definitely approachable for people who aren't into old world.
It's less 1980s old world. It's more 2020s old world.
All right, I'll give you that. But my thing is that Americans are still going to enjoy it.
Absolutely.
If you like your Bordeaux blends or your California blends from Food Lion and Kroger and Wegman, let me posit you will like this a bit more.
Dad, this is coming someday soon to a Christmas dinner near you.
Yes. Let's do that.
All right. So
thank you very much for tuning in, and we will be here again next week. And of course, make sure you go to the website, check it out. We put in at least 1 or 2 print blogs every week in addition to our video blogs. We love you people. Come on and join us. Let's enjoy the wines together.
Cheers.
Cheers.